So hi everyone, my name is Ravish and I teach philosophy and literature. And in this video I will talk about the recent fiction book that I was reading. It's called Murakami's Sputnik Sweetheart. Now I know most of you love Murakami. In fact, I do admire his writing as well. But something it's like he writes in magic realism. Which is not a favorite genre for me. But anyway, I will try to make a constructive criticism about this book as much as possible. Now, same as any other book, you will find so many similarities in his work, in Murakami's work. Like for instance, you will find moon, you will find cats. Cats is always there. Whether you read Norway Notes, whether you read whether you like the Kafka on the Shore, or even this particular book called Sputnik Sweetheart, you will find. And then there's a lot of a huge sense of like a magical realism that I will talk about later in this video. Now, in the beginning, you will find that there's a character which is a protagonist. His name is Mr. K. And you will never know who this person is, because this is what Murakami writes. There is always a mystery. The protagonist is always a mysterious character, and there is always a character who goes missing. You can feel the vibe. There is so much of Murakami in this as well. Now, there are a few things that I will talk about. One is that the Sputnik itself, the word Sputnik itself. Why? It's very unique name, Sputnik Sweetheart, isn't it? So this Sputnik is basically it's a name taken from a Russian word, and the literal meaning of this Sputnik means traveling companion. So what does it mean, and how does it define this particular piece of writing? Well, let's understand this way. So if you read this book, I think the main character is Samir. I don't know how they pronounce it. It's a Japanese plus, I don't know. This is a very unique pronunciation, because if you pronounce it in Japanese, then it would be like Sumare or Sumire. But no, I think the pronunciation is Samir. So I will say Samir in this particular video. Now this character Sumire, she doesn't appear in the most of the part of this novel, but her story is being told by Mr. K, who is a very good friend. Mr. K's a very good friend is Sumire, who is the main character, and then there is a Mew, who is very rich and who is older than both of these characters, and one would say that there is a love triangle, but I don't find there is a love triangle, because at the end, Mew doesn't fall in love with, let's say, with Mr. K, but Mr. K was in love with Mew as well. But there's no possible ending. There's no possible ending in his work, and there's always a kind of sense of alienation. You will find it. Now, this Sputnik in this particular work, if I talk about if I construct this book, if I try to criticize this book through the lens of structuralism, then you will find that there's a companionship between characters, between places. For instance, there's a moon, and then there's a fairy wheel, and then there's a cat. You will find cat in moon. Again, there's a connection, there's a duality, there's a companionship. And then you will find that the Mew's companion, like when she travels to Greek, you will find that Mew's companion is Samir. And there's another, in the middle of the book, they meet a person, a British gentleman, who was also traveling with his own, personal, let's say, secretary, or you can say the personal assistant. And there was also a companionship, because there's this British guy who was traveling with his own assistant. There was a companion, and then Mew and Samir, they were both companion as well. So in this entire book, you will find there is a companionship. This is something that you need to remember while reading this book. Now, there are few things on the chapter page, like on the page 4. He writes that I would love to show you a photo of her, but I don't have it. You see, Mr. K says that I would love to show you her picture, but I don't have it. I don't have it with me. Now there is a sense of alienation in this particular statement. You see, because as Mr. K suggests, as Mr. K says, claims that he is a very good friend of Samaya, but still he doesn't have any picture of her. What does it mean? It means that there is an alienation between two characters. You know, all the characters are having this alienation effect. You know, having this alienation kind of sense, because no one is actually connected with anyone. At the same time, they all are connected with each other. You know, you will get it when you read it, because there's a strong alienation effect there. You know, there's a strong kind of, because it simply means that even though Sputnik means that companion, you know, traveling companion, but there's a sense of alienation as well, because even when Mew and this Smart, they were traveling together, they were not feeling together. You know, they were not together. They were you know, alone in themselves. You know, they were living in separate rooms. They were traveling separately, and Mew was always busy in her business work, and this Samaya, she would always be lost in her thoughts, in her writing, and so on. Now there's one thing, this Samaya, she was an inspiring writer. She wanted to become an author. That's why she quits her high school, and she started writing. But I don't know whether she became a big writer or not. But the most part of this video that you will find is that Samaya's notebooks. You know, because yeah, and there's one thing also I want to point it out, because since Murakami is a Japanese writer, he talks about a lot of Japanese aestheticity. Because you see, on the chapter 7, when Samaya is lost, when Samaya goes away somewhere, and Mew calls her from the Greek island, and she says, and he thinks at that particular time, he writes that a rice paddy in the middle of a rainstorm, and I couldn't work out what was going on. So Mr. K was so confused. In this particular point of time, Mr. K was so confused, like what is going on? Who just called me? Because this is not a Japanese number. So this call came from this Mew, who was traveling with Samaya in Greek island. But when he heard the voice, he was so confused, because he didn't know anyone. He didn't know that Mew, the girl Mew. Now she says, have I reached to a correct person? Is it Mr. K? And he said yes, and he was so confused at that particular time what just happened. And that is the turning point of this novel, because that is precisely when he had to leave the job. He had to leave his job in primary school, and then he had to fly away from Japan and to some Greek island, to some alienated place. You see, even the place is alienated here. And that I think there's another now one more thing that I will talk about is magic realism. As you know, the magic realism simply means that it blurs the line between reality and metaphysics, or let's say between fantasy and realism, right? Because this is what magic realism means. There's a magic, a kind of sense of magic. You think about something, you think about some metaphysical thing, or let's say some fantasy world, and that thing comes into existence. That thing like collide with the reality. That is what magical realism is. And you will every almost in entire chapter you will find these two things. One is alienation effect, and the second is kind of magical thing going on. Because there's one place when Samaya talks about her own life. She says that the cat never came back. He just disappeared like smoke. In the same way, Samaya disappears as well. So you see, there's a connection there. There's a magical thing going on, and then there's a reality going on, and there's a beautiful chapter, which is I think there's a chapter of Mew. She got trapped in Fairyville, on a Greek island, and that is one of the most beautiful let's say most beautiful explanation, or let's say most beautiful chapter in this particular book. And you will know when you read it, and there you will find that there is a strong magic realism, because at one point she was there, and when she was looking in a goggles, she finds that there's another Mew living inside her apartment, far from that that fairyville, that place. And there's another one who is trapped on that particular fairyville at night. This is again coming into existence, the magic thing, which cannot happen because two person cannot exist in two different places. This is what Murakami does. And I think this is why Murakami is very famous for, especially for teenagers, I guess, because he talks about magic, realism. He talks about like all these a kind of fantasy kind of stuff, and also he talks about a lot of almost in all his works he talks about cats, he talks about moon, he talks about like women disappearing, and the characters, most of the time characters disappears in his novel. Yeah, and this is all I can give you. This is all I can think of about this novel. So the first thing is that there is a companionship in this particular novel. There is always a companion, like Mountain and Fairyville, and then Samire and Mew. They all walk together. They all travel together. Then Cat and Moon, and then there is this British man, traveling with his assistant. There is a companionship, right? And then the second point that you need to remember is there is an alienation effect in this particular work, even though they are companion. But again, there is a strong alienation effect. And then there is a magic realism, which you will find, magic, this fantasy coming into reality. I think this is all this book has, and my opinion is like, if you'd ask me how much out of 5 point, how much point I can give it to this book, then I would say it's 2.5, something like that. It's just that I am more interested in reality, in reading real books, like for instance Dostoevsky or Camus' work. So I don't think I will ever find any novelist who comes closer to Dostoevsky, or let's say Albert Camus, because these are the very greatest novelists in my opinion. Anyway, this was it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please, if you love Murakami, then please don't hate me, because this is just who I am, because they are different kind of person. Some people loves some particular genre, some people doesn't love that particular genre. So same with me. This is the third book that I've read on Murakami, and I can tell you he's pretty good. He's fantastic, but it's not that deep thinker in my opinion. Anyway, that's all for today. See you in the next one. Bye bye.